Ah, ah, ah. Well, okay, I'm going to sell my sugarcane, and then I'm going to Nassau, because we're going to the moon. Here we go. Here we go. Here, have some sugarcane. Anything else? Yeah, that'll do. Okay, let's go. Oh, it doesn't cost anything, because it's Arden's boat. This is even better. This is amazing. We boarded Michelle Arden's boat at the quay and threw up the sail, listing sharply as the winds took us out of harbour. I took the jib, helping the craft along with nips and tucks into the wind, anxious to shave away every second. The Bahamas were soon in view. We sailed around to the east side where the island of Nassau was waiting. It was a beautiful spot, but my eyes were fixed on one sight alone. Up on the highest peak, framed against the brilliant skies, was a short, bulging tower with a fingertip-like summit. "You are quite right," Michelle Arden murmured, following my eyeline. "There she is, the Columbiad and capsule." "Are you sure she is pointing the correct way?" "It is rotatable, despite being cast directly on the ground. The shell is 6 feet thick, and she is 900 feet long, with a bore of 9 feet in diameter." He spoke with the passion of a horse breeder. "She is a cannon, the like of which the world has never seen." I gulped. "Nor has the moon," I remarked. "No," Arden smiled. "The moon, I fancy, is in for a surprise." Look, I've nearly got him up to 100, just in time for us to leave the freaking planet. The boat put into port, and we clambered ashore. "I shall find us a hotel," I suggested. But Monsieur Arden shook his head. "No need for that. We have everything prepared. We leave immediately." "Immediately," I agreed enthusiastically. "That is settled then," the other rocketeer declared, and together we climbed the low hill to the cannon. Close up, it was a phenomenal piece of engineering, one I could hardly believe, an enormous turret of iron on which perched a tiny metal capsule. Barbicane was waiting for us at its base. "The capsule will be our home, gentlemen," she announced, patting the bottom rung of the waiting ladder. "Shall we?" I left our bags behind and began to climb. Yes, got him up to 100. Hang on. Before we strapped at the top of the capsule, the four of us, Madame Barbicane, Monsieur Arden, Monsieur Fogg, and myself, we were seated facing each other around a central console. A terrible flaw of design, for it meant that each of us could easily read the terror on the faces of the other. "Should we begin a countdown?" I suggested. "There is no need," Barbicane replied soberly. "Because the system is automated?" "Because the fuse is already lit, and the countdown has already begun." "So when will it fire?" I demanded, but she only shook her head to indicate she had no idea. "Hold on," Michelle Arden murmured. "I dare say this will be somewhat more dramatic than last time." And then the explosive charge fired. There was a moment of brilliant white light, and for an instant it seemed nothing had happened, except that we were all crushed by a sudden physical sense of weight. A half instant later, the ground reached us as the room began to rattle and shake, with everything, from the fittings to the chairs to the teeth in our heads, rattling and threatening to shatter in their sockets. The others' faces told the story of our ascent. All soft flesh was scrunched downwards, lips and ears and cheeks, as though we faced a gale. No one could speak. All air seemed to be gone, as though it pooled around the floor of our little capsule. Slowly we fought to regain control of ourselves, and the first to speak was Barbicane. "Enough. Explosive, you think?" she whispered, the sound barely travelling across noise of roaring air. Monsieur Arden attempted to nod, I believe, but found he could not. For myself, I clung on to my grips. It seemed we were destined for the orbit of the moon, or else certain disaster. Whoa! This is so cool! Whoa! This is so cool. I was supposed to be going around the world. I've kind of overdone it a bit now, I think. As the movement of the capsule settled, we were able to stand once more and move around the capsule as normal. Although the view from the reinforced glass was almost enough to force us to sit down once more, far below, distant diamonds indicated the surface of the ocean. Above, scattered clouds roamed like so many sheep. "How is our ascent?" Michelle Arden asked, as Madame Barbicane tapped a pressure dial built into one panelled wall of the enclosure. "Good," she replied. To my ear, however, she sounded unconvinced, and Monsieur Arden caught the sense as well, I believe. "There's only one thing," she added, after consulting another dial, scratching a calculation onto a notepad. Monsieur Fogg nodded. "My timing of the detonation would suggest a similar conclusion. We will not escape the gravitational pull of the Earth. We'll be close, but not close enough." "What can be done?" I asked, trying to maintain a level head. "There is only one course of action," Barbicane said. She was looking directly at Monsieur Arden as she spoke, rather studiously avoiding mine and my master's eyes. "I think you know it, Michel." Michel shook his head. "There must be another way." "There is," I cried, though I could not think of one, because I had a sense of what they were considering. It would not be enough to drop one body from the capsule, Monsieur Fogg offered. We must project that body backwards to provide equivalent momentum forwards. "Do you have the means?" Michel Arden nodded. "We do." He tapped the central circular pillar of the capsule. "We have a pressurized container with a pump ejection system. It was designed for, shall we say, other purposes, but it is not overly small." "A man might fit," my master replied. "Surely the furniture must go first," I exclaimed. Although looking around, it was clear there was no furniture to jettison. All fittings were moulded into the walls. Everything was, except for the four of us. Monsieur Fogg nodded, "and I fear there is only one of us, wiry and athletic enough to fit the bore of the ejection chamber." I did not like his implication one bit. "Arden's frame is too large," Barbicane said softly. "Mine also." I nodded. "Then I will go." Michel opened the lid of the central container, revealing a small metal canister. I lowered myself inside, looking up through the open mouth. Monsieur Arden's face moved out of sight, and my master's hoved into view. "Passepartout," he declared in thick tones. "Master," I replied, choking in return. "Fly well, my man," he replied, and then stiffly he raised one arm in a naval officer's salute. "Complete my wager, if you can." "Good luck, Monsieur Fogg." And with that, the lid was closed. There was a loud, grating noise, then the world fell out from under me, and I began to fall. Surely, this was finally the end. They left me! Oh my god! That's so rude. What Michel Arden had not told me as I was dropped from the ship was that the waste canisters were fitted with small parachutes. I fell fast at first, and then more gently, and by the time I hit the ocean, I was beginning to think I might survive. And indeed I did survive, though I had to scramble to get out of the water before the canister sank. My situation was hardly resolved. I had lost my master. Looking up into the sky, he was disappearing at a rapid pace. I watched, fearing the capsule might explode at any moment. But nothing happened. It seemed to move at a crawlingly slow speed. It was almost nightfall when I saw a light across the water. I screamed and shouted, unsure if it would be possible to be seen so low in the water. The light moved closer. I swam desperately, determined to catch the boat if I could. The light swept the water left to right, then across my eyes. I broke my stroke and waved, and to my amazement, the boat began to slow, and a hook appeared, lifting me from the water and onto the deck, dripping like a landed fish. Once again, I was alive. I still can't believe they left me! Oh my god. And I have no money now. He took the money with him to the moon. Oh my god. The boat rocked and rolled, but I felt none of it. In my mind was nothing but the sight of my master closing the lid on me, happily consigning me to a bin several 100,000 feet deep, had been the rational action, but how coldly he had done it! As the coastline of Ponta dell'Aga appeared, I was joined at the rail by one of the crew. "You are a strange creature," she remarked. "How did you come to be in the water? Why are you dressed like that?" "It is performance art, senorita," I answered. "And what does it mean, this art of yours?" "Depends on your interpretation." "Ah," she nodded. "I have little time for art. Except Impressionism. I quite like that." And with that we docked into the shore of Ponta dell'Aga, and my life was quite back to normal, except without one vital part. Okay, so is it just me now, going around the world? Well, this is weird. Sure, let's have a look around. So there are routes. Back to London, in fact. I could get there, if I had any money, which I don't. Ponta dell'Aga was the largest settlement on the volcanic island of San Miguel in the Azores. Delicate pewter automata harvested fruit from the abundant orangeries watched over by Portuguese gentlemen farmers in pristine white villas. In my explorations I heard tell of a ship to sign on with for passage back to London, paused only to breathe in the scent of citrus on the way to the harbour. It lingered in my nostrils for days. Oh, that's quite good. I might be able to just work on a ship and get home that way. That'd be quite good. When does this leave? Tomorrow at noon. Okay. So I've got to say take a hotel, but I actually can't. A hotelier took pity of me and gave me a bed. Oh, that's okay then. The chimes of Santa Monica. Let's go to London. I hope I get paid well for this as a valet. He threw me into the ocean. God damn it. The boat was a cotton merchant from out of Liverpool, but they were happy enough to have me on board to do their cooking and content to return me to London. I busied myself in the kitchens, the better not to think about what had happened. I cooked mostly using onions that evening. We returned to London, but what would I do there? Well, I guess I'll go collect on the wager. Although I went round the world in 80 days, but that is not sure what whether the wager was specifically for fog, so I'm not sure if I will win. That evening, one of the women patted me on the hand. "Forgive yourself, Passepartout. I see that you have lost someone, but the pain will ease, I promise you." "You do not understand," I told her. "He abandoned me." "I'm sure he had his reasons," she replied, patting my hand. But then she stood and left me, slipping away before I cried on her shoulder. Aww, he's so sad. Okay, here we go. And on the last day of my long journey dawned, without incident or great remark. I stood at the rail, watching the approach of the land, and wondering how I might explain my master's disappearance to the gentlemen at the club. Would they think I had murdered my master in some curious foreign soil? We tethered at the airship dock in Hyde Park, and I felt, for the first time in 56 days, the feel of English soil under my shoes. At long last I had returned to London, and in good time to win the wager, if, that was, returning without my master would count for anything with the fellows at the Reform Club. Let's find out. I did it in under 60 days. That gets me an achievement. That's something. I hailed a steam carriage from the Serpentine and demanded to be taken to the Reform Club. I had arrived just as the members were settling to dinner. No one recognized me, of course. I was, a valet to Monsieur Phileas Fogg, I told the butler, who nodded. I moved away with some excitement. For a moment they kept me waiting, like a schoolboy. Then I was admitted into the long candle-lit dining room. Every head turned to look my way. "Well," grumbled one, "where is he?" Indeed, said another. Hasn't he come to collect his winnings? I paused a moment, gathering my thoughts, only then realising that I was still expecting my master to return. I was expecting that I would open my mouth to tell a story and have a door slam backwards to frame his lofty profile. I turned, but the doors were quite still. I was quite alone, a mere valet, and now not even that. He cannot come, I began quietly. My voice shook, but the watching group had no particular sympathy. We're not paying you £20,000, one member complained. Indeed not, another agreed. The wager was with Mr. Fogg, and if he is not here to collect, then there is nothing to settle. Is he alive? Asked another, more gently. So I told them, and they listened, amazed, enraptured, and ultimately teary-eyed as I painted my master's final days for them with careful precision. As I finished, the room was still and silent. And then, that was it. Without fanfare, without recognition, my duty was done. Our long journey was complete. I turned, head bowed, and left the Reform Club, never to return. As I walked along Piccadilly, I looked up. The moon was rising, and for a moment I fancied I saw a tiny spark ignite on her surface. Something landing, perhaps? Something settling down into dust? To the dust? A top hat and a cane stepping outside. I rubbed my eyes a little to clear them, and then returned to Savile Row to make for myself this time a cup of tea. Ah! I did it! I went around the world, and I didn't go to the moon, but Phileas Fogg did, and he left me here. Oh my god, that was not quite how I thought that would turn out, I must admit. I wonder if there's a better way to get to the moon. Oh my dear. Oh dear. Oh dear. Oh my god. That was quite intense, but I really love this game because you never know what's going to happen. Every time I played it, and I have played it a few times now, something different happens and I'm never quite sure what to expect. And that's kind of satisfying, to be honest. I know I've looked at some of the achievements that you can get on Steam, and one of them is going to the centre of the Earth as well. I wonder if that goes in a similar way. And I don't return alone. But we nearly died. I mean, down by Singapore, so clearly there are ways to fail the game. And I know you can take longer than 80 days to get there, and obviously then you lose the wager. But yeah, we did it. I did it. I got around the world in 80 days. As I say, Fogg kind of got over the top and went beyond. But you can do that as well, actually. You can go across the top of the world, across the North Pole, and you can go down through Africa and across the Trans-Siberian Railway, and all sorts. There's hundreds of different routes you can take, through Canada, through the Amazon, through the Americas in general. And as you can see, there are sort of hidden stories going on, like what was going on in Haiti. Clearly something was going on in Haiti, but it wasn't going to tell me until I went there, and I didn't. I went to Miami instead, and now I'm considering whether that was a great idea. Going to the moon on a cannon, I'm not sure if that's actually ever going to be a sensible move, but maybe it has kind of made me want to play the Kerbal Space Program again. Anyway, never mind. Thank you very much for watching. And if you play this game, let me know sort of what weird things you end up doing. But you can see some of my other routes here. Yeah, I just went around Acapulco. But yeah, there's all sorts of different ways to play it. So I'd love to hear what else other people have done. And if you manage to do it faster, because this is actually the fastest I've ever done it, I think. As you saw with that achievement. Yeah. Bye.